In 1964, the Westminster Synagogue bought from the Czech government 1,564 Torah scrolls from the Jewish Museum in Prague. And these were the majority of all the Torah scrolls that had been collected in 1942, along with over 100,000 other artifacts by the Jews in the Jewish Museum. It was actually quite an act of resistance by the Jews, rather than the usual story of victims who weren't able to fight back. 100 years ago, there were 350,000 Jews in then Czechoslovakia. Today, there are maybe 5,000. Nobody came back for the scrolls, and so they sat there in storage waiting until the Czech government sold them and the Westminster Synagogue brought them to London.
1,564 scrolls. They arrived in our building and they were placed in the marble hall of our synagogue.
The congregants decided that they would lend them to communities across the world.
Many of them were in disrepair and they needed to be placed into a state so they could be used in synagogue services.
I think in North America alone there are over 1,000, that's where the majority of the scrolls are, but we have them in New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, all over Europe, South America, Central America, Canada.
The Memorial Scrolls Trust has given a contribution of immense value to the Jewish world. The scrolls tell a very important story. They highlight for us how wonderful Jewish life was in Eastern Europe before the war. They remind us about the great tragedy of the Holocaust. And also now, because these scrolls are being read from in hundreds of synagogues around the world, they are a living testimony to the fact that we prevailed. Thank God, we survived as a nation. And now we read the Torah, which guarantees for us a strong and great Jewish future.
Very soon the last living eyewitness of any kind of that time will no longer be alive, and each scroll will be the only witness to that entire community. Not everybody can get here, so we have to come to them. We've created a travelling exhibition. One person who's not that strong can pick up 12 little cases, put them in the boot of the car, drive them to their synagogue, and then instant exhibition and tell the story.
I'm delighted that there is now an excellent travelling exhibition which will bring the story of the scrolls around the country so that people can appreciate the value of what they represent.
When somebody dies in Judaism, you say, may their memory be for a blessing. These scrolls are the way that we can make the memory of the murdered Jews of Bohemia and Moravia be a blessing within the Jewish community.
Where there is life, there is hope.